Hey, Paul, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, gotcha.
I got it from Mike.
I guess the email didn't come through in time.
No, I don't see it yet. So it's good. He gave me the number. This time I'll save it if it's the same.
Yeah.
Usually you post it and then I put it on the computer that day.
Okay. Yeah, it's the number's the same. It'll be when you see the email, it just has everything right there. You should be good to go.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Okay. Thanks,
Hi,
Karen.
Karen.
Hi, Paul. How are you?
Good.
Testing 1, 2. Anybody hear me?
I got you, Mike.
All right. Thank you.
I hear you.
Good.
Rick, I can see you dialing in. It just keeps sitting on connecting to audio. I don't know if you maybe want to hang up and try calling back in.
Can you hear me, Jim?
Yep, I got you, Lynn. You only got about half of your face, so tip it down. There you go.
Jim, this is Rick. Can you hear me now?
Got you loud and clear, Rick. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Jim, and everyone else.
Hey, Dan.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, Dennis.
Hear me?
Dennis,
Paul.
Paul, Karen, Lynn, hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hey guys.
Hey, Ben.
Deputy
Ben.
Mayor?
Vince?
I don't know if you guys know, I just talked to Andy. He said he's not able to join us, so he asked me to come to the meeting.
Hey, Jim. Do you know if Matt had any luck trying to find any of that stuff? I mean, I didn't see nothing in my email.
Yeah, no, he wasn't able to. I don't know where Ryan has it filed, so
Okay.
I'll shoot her an email and ask her to dig through it for me.
Okay. All right. Good enough. Thank you.
Just so everybody that's tuned in now and council knows, I've disabled the chat feature until we begin the public comment on agenda items and public comment for the meeting itself. Too many messages to council. We're getting lost in the mix.
Duly noted. And did you happen to see that email from Robin Taylor, or anybody else for that matter, regarding her pool,
See it yet?
the Aquatic Center? It was sent today, I guess.
I was
just thought-
gonna come into the Zoom meeting and speak about it, but I didn't see the email.
Okay. All right. Hopefully I don't get cut out of here like last week. If I do, I'll do my very best. I did disable a little Norton virus thing on my computer, which I think was the problem. But just a heads up on that.
Since you need to have your girls running around like they have on like Jimmy Kimmel.
They would love to do
Jimmy
that.
Fallon, yeah.
They're working on their schoolwork right now, or else they'd be here.
Fred, I see you in there.
I'm here. I got here.
Yeah. Don't have that sound.
Started yet.
So, yeah, they haven't, maybe technically haven't got to get in there. They don't have the damn thing.
Don Williams, you and Joni need to mute your microphone, please. Deputy Mayor, I have 1 PM when you're ready to start.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to welcome everybody to our May 20th Zoom council meeting. I wanted to let everyone know that Mayor Andy Simpson will not be able to join us today. He had a medical procedure done. I just had a good conversation with him, but I would like to ask if the community could just keep him in his prayers, him and his family. So I just wanted to let people know. Can we begin with the flag salute? Please rise if you're able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You could remain standing for our prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together in the service of our community, and we thank you for helping to keep Brigantine safe. We ask that you watch over our meeting and help us to work together so that we may make the best possible decisions for Brigantine. Amen. Lynn, can you read the open public meetings announcement?
This is to advise the meeting notices covering this meeting have been set and posted as required under the Open Public Meetings Act.
Thank you, Lynn. Sorry, I'm working off a couple documents here. I had to bring it back up. All right, can we have approval of the May 6th council meeting minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have roll call.
Hugh,
Yes.
Lettieri, Lettieri,
Is he muted? I'm on a different page.
He is muted. Yeah, he's working on it.
Give us a thumbs up, Paul.
Good thinking, Mike.
I can't speak.
did he
There
give
you
us?
go.
I believe he gave
Yes.
a thumbs up. There you go.
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sarah,
Yes.
motion carried.
Perfect. Can we have approval of payroll requisition list and operating expenses? Have a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
We have roll call.
Hugh,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sarah,
Yes.
motion carried.
Next on the agenda, we have public comment. Our first public comment is for any agenda items. Our second public comment at the end is for anything that the public would like to discuss. So Jim Bennett, I'll turn it over to you to recognize people who would like to speak on the agenda.
Okay, Deputy Mayor, I'll go through the screens here and see if anybody has their hand up, and I'll unmute them and ask them to announce themselves.
If they could just state their name and address for the record, that would be perfect. Thank you.
We have Joe Musamichi who would like to speak. So Joe, go ahead, name, address for the record.
Joe Musamachi, 4241 Atlantic Brigantine Boulevard. One of the questions that was presented to me was, up at the seawall, people want to know if it's not going to be open, can they at least open the stairs so you can walk up the steps and down to the beach and just quadrant off the two sides?
I guess two things. One, obviously, Joe, we're going to answer your question, but two, the first open to public is just for agenda items. But I know right now there's some procedures and stuff that are put in place by the governor, some of the restrictions when it comes to public areas like that. I know we're looking into a plan, one, to get that back open, and two, to make sure we have adequate ADA access to our beaches. It's just there's a lot of moving parts right now going on in the city. We are working on that, and it is a priority.
All right, I'm sorry, I didn't catch the agenda part. All right.
Yeah.
We're in a meeting of
I'm
madness.
still not unmuted.
All right, Deputy Mayor, I don't see anybody else trying to get my attention, so I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, at this time, we're going to close public comment, and we're going to move to Resolution 2020-93. And this is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Brigantine authorizing the entry into an agreement waiving the city's right to enforce the Walker restriction on Lot 3 in Block 1901, also known as 315 20th Street South. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, Vince, I'd just like to say that I'd like to just address council and anyone else listening for that matter. Just regarding the walk restriction, I spoke to Jim Bennett earlier, and via that, my communications with Jim, he reached out for Matt Doring. I would just like to know a little bit more about the walk restriction, just to read the objective matter of it. It's somewhere in the files. That's the one thing I'd like to say about that. I would not want to get in the way of progress, and I do know it's important to note that in one of the parts, if we read on, that runs in it's in perpetuity, deed restrictions. So it's not like it's something that just popped up out of nowhere. And I'd just like to know a little bit more about it. With that said, that's all I wanted to add to it, actually. Thank you.
Absolutely. I think, Dennis, I think that's a really fair question. This is something I've done some research into since I've got on council. To the best of my knowledge, I guess Brigantine was in a position where, I don't know if financially it needed more money, and they were trying to make lots available. And this goes back to the original development of the island. So what they did is they put together segments of properties and put deed restrictions on them to make sure that if developers came in and bought those lots at a discounted price, they couldn't then subdivide them to then sell them for a profit. So the city put what we refer to as a Walker restriction in place to make sure that the integrity of the community was upheld. And we still have a lot of this today when you look at our master plan for the community to make sure that we have what's an appropriate population density and housing density for the island. Since the city is in a position now where, especially I know for this lot, I've looked into it a little bit, that this lot would be two conforming lots that fits into the city's master plan. I think what's before council today is to make a determination whether or not the city needs to maintain this restriction on the property. And again, looking at the fact that they're two conforming lots and it fits into the city's master's plan, it would be reasonable that we could move forward to release the restriction on these properties.
Yeah, so well put, Vince. I mean, I did discuss with a ways back when Ed Stinson was the city manager, essentially what you just said. He paraphrased it at that same time. And like I said, you stated that quite well. I would just like to see, I would just like to read the actual restriction and whatever, specifics are in it. But the way you explained it, the fact that it's a process as we move along and keep our population and our density under control is obviously important. So thank you.
It's important to know that this decision went to the planning board before it came to us. In our process, the planning board has to review and make sure that these decisions are appropriate before we can look at it. And my understanding is that the planning board has initially approved it and sent it to council for, I guess, final discussion. And is Fred, you trying to chime in there? I didn't know if you were just waving or...
But I'm fine with what's being said. If at any time you need more detail on the legal aspect of it, I'll be glad to provide. But I think in terms of capturing it for discussion at council level this afternoon, you're in good shape.
Thank you. Is there any other questions from council?
Yes, this is Rick. I have.
Go
Go ahead, Rick.
Thanks, Karen. This isn't the first one of these, of course, that's come before us. And my disagreement is with the process that we're following. My understanding of how the council is to act when we're asked to lift any kind of deed restriction of this nature is that we're supposed to be presented with evidence.
They are very tough decisions, and regarding the flag as well.
Thank you. We're supposed to be presented with evidence, and it doesn't have to be extensive evidence, and it might be even self-evident, but we're supposed to have a record before us which shows, A, what was the purpose of the restriction in the first case, and B, demonstrate that that purpose is really no longer served by maintaining it. The end result here is not objectionable. We end up with 2 conforming lots, but in terms of the process, that's really what we need. And tied into that is if a person who's asking to have the deed restriction lifted demonstrates to our satisfaction that it should be lifted, then we also really can't charge them for that. Our job in this regard as City Council, I believe, is just to protect, maintain, enforce, if necessary, the deed restriction. And if we determine that it's no longer necessary, then we waive it and that's it. And we really can't be charging people to do that. In this case, I'm assuming we're not going to hear any additional information from anyone. So I guess we're left with what we all know from our own general experience, that these restrictions were put in place a while back, that the town was developed to a much less dense extent at that time, and we were trying to protect against that, and that's all fine. And we can look at the existing pattern of development that's evolved in the years since, and what we will end up with in the case of this particular restriction being lifted. And if that's okay with us, it's okay with the planning board, then I don't have any objection to the result. But I think we're just continuing to go down the wrong path to get there. That's all.
And I think Rick brings up some good points. And one of the things that's been addressed in previous discussions is we looked at walker restrictions. And this goes back to when Ed Stinson was the city manager. I know we discussed this a lot, but when the walker restriction was put in place, the city was selling the lots at a discount. And that restriction, to my understanding, is owned by the taxpayers or the city of Brigantine as it is. And my understanding from my discussions with our legal counsel is that we do not have the right to give away that property. And since there was compensation that was lost from the city when creating the restriction and selling the lots at a discount, that some type of compensation is required to come back to the taxpayers of Brigantine, even though that it's many years later, that restriction runs in that point. So that was kind of the argument that was put on the other side, why there was a fee in lifting that restriction. And obviously, people are willing to agree and disagree, but I wanted to open it up to see if any other members of council had questions or comments.
I just have a comment. This is the procedure we've been using the last few years. We need to stay consistent with this, and seeing no variances being required, and that both of these lots will be totally conforming. I think we should proceed with it. Thank you.
If there's no other council comments, and if council wants to comment too, we also need to open this up, I believe, for a public hearing. So if anybody from the public would like to speak on this issue, I'd like to open it up, Jim, now to the public.
Vince, before we do that, could Fred maybe briefly add to what Rick had to say, just for a little bit more clarification, if you will?
Yeah.
Fred, could you just...
This is the way we have done it in the past, and I don't believe there is any prohibition in regard to the fee that is paid to the municipality. There's a compensation issue that goes to compensation that may have been lost at the time the restrictions came on board. And to the extent that there is now compensation and that balances it out, that would appear to be fair. And again, we have proceeded this way in the past. We have not been challenged at any point with it. And I believe that we're in a reasonable legal position to go forward with it as it's currently constructed.
Thank you, Fred.
All right, if there's no more council comments, I'd like to open up for a public hearing.
Deputy Mayor, I don't see anybody trying to get our attention, so I'll turn it back to you.
At this time, since there is no, I guess, no one trying to reach out to us, we'll close the public hearing. Are there any more council comments before we move forward? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a roll call.
View, sorry.
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
One last thing I'd just like to add is that I researched it myself after our last walker restriction vote that we had, and yesterday as well, quite extensively. So I'm in full agreement with what was said by everyone on council, along with Fred. I vote yes.
DeLucre,
Subject to the comments I made, and it's a discussion we've had in the past, and I suspect we'll have the next time one of these comes before us. In this case, the end result is unobjectionable, so I'll vote yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sarah,
Yes.
motion carried.
Next up, we have Resolution 2020-94, and this is a resolution approving participation with the state of New Jersey in a safe and secure communities program administered by the Division of Criminal Justice and Department of Law and Public Safety. Can we have a motion and a second?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
And then, Jim, I don't know if you or I don't know if our Chief Castellano's on, if somebody could comment on this grant.
Sure, I'll take that, Deputy Mayor. This is a grant we've been involved in for a number of years. With the, it is a employee-based amount that we get. And now we have 34 police officers. We get a grant for $30,000 to help offset the salary costs of one of our police officers. If we rise up to another employee or two, we get a different percentage of funds coming in.
And this is a grant we've participated in the past with?
Yes, sir, for many years, probably 10 that I can think of.
Perfect. So any, I guess, comments or questions from council? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sarah,
Yes.
motion carried.
Next, we have Resolution 2020-95, and this is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Brigantine providing funding from the City of Brigantine to the Brigantine Board of Education for a school civilian security agent. Can we have a motion and second?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Just been a great program, a lot of security to the staff and the families that attend our school. Thank you.
Seeing no other comment, can we have roll call?
View, View, Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sarah,
This is a great program that we started, I believe, I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago, but this was something that was really spearheaded by Mayor Andy Simpson to make sure that our children and our schools were always protected and always safe. And I really want to, even though he's not here with us right now, I really want to commend him on his efforts to make sure that our children in the schools are protected. So, yes.
motion carried.
Next up, we have Resolution 2020-96, and this is a resolution authorizing the City of Brigantine tax collector to prepare and mail estimated tax bills in accordance with Public Law 1994 C-72. Can we have a motion and second?
So moved.
Second.
Jim, I don't know if Roxanne is on, or if you could give us a brief update on what, if not, I can, but I don't know if Roxanne was on to talk about what we're doing with the estimated tax bills.
Yes, I am, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
Yes, this is something that's really out of the ordinary, as many things have become recently. I believe this might be one of the first times where the city has proposed an estimated tax rate. I know this is the first time in my career as a CFO that I have done so. And the reason being is that we don't know when we're going to get a certified rate from the county and the state. So in order to continue to bill up for taxes on a orderly basis and to anticipate taxes for the next tax date, it is necessary we come up with an estimated amount. So that is what we're doing. We need to do it in advance because there's lots of preparation that go into calculating the bills and when they have to go out. So I think folks will see a very little change from their tax rate from the last bill that was paid. And then come the final bill, which would be for November, hopefully we will have a rate and things will even out. And it will be, your last bill will be adjusted. This will only be a bill that will be produced for the third quarter tax payment. You will only see one amount there. It won't be a full bill like you normally get.
Thank you, Roxanne. I think it's important to note too, especially with everything going on with COVID-19, there's a lot of uncertainty, and Brigantine has control of the things we can control. The county's working very hard and the state's working very hard. And one of the things that our financial team and Mayor Simpson really wanted to make sure is that our Brigantine taxpayers were in the best possible position. So this is something that they talked about and put together a few weeks ago to make sure that we were prepared in a strong position. So I'm going to thank everybody for their efforts there. Are there any council comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
You,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sarah,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, next up, we have Resolution 2020-97, and this is a special event permit refund. Can we have a motion and second?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. And just to let people know, this was for a permit that was put in place for a wedding, and obviously under the current conditions, the wedding wasn't able to go forward, so the city is looking to refund the money for that permit. Any council comments or questions? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
You,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sarah,
Yes.
motion carried.
Next, we have Resolution 2020-98. These are real estate tax refunds. Can I have a motion and second?
So moved.
Second.
Just to let people know, this is these refunds are based on payments. Every once in a while, sometimes you have companies that escrow, or sometimes people double write checks. So these are just overpayments. Any questions from council? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
You,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sarah,
Yes.
motion carried.
Next up, we have Resolution 2020-99. This is a rental inspection fee refund. Have a motion and second.
I'll
So
make that
moved.
second.
And again, this is for an overpayment, so the city's just refunding an overpayment. Any questions or comments from council? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sarah.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next up, we have Resolution 2020-100, and this is a farmer's market fee refund. We have a motion and second.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions from council? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sarah.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Just want to check. Next up, I see on the agenda, it says consent agenda, but I didn't receive anything on that.
We didn't have anything
Consent agenda. All right,
in
perfect.
case we got anything at the last minute, so.
All right, perfect. We have our council manager committee discussions. So I'd like to, I guess, we can start with Councilwoman Karen Bue from the First Ward.
All right, first I'd like to announce that starting now, the golf course is taking tee times for foursomes. It's very exciting news. It will still be social distancing. If you don't live in the same house, you're going to have to take separate carts, but at least we can get more golfers in, get more revenue coming in. And also the 19th hole, the COVID-19 hole will be open this weekend for at 8 a.m. every morning, serving breakfast sandwiches and lunch sandwiches and takeout beverages. So come on out, play golf, call up and make your tee times. We're really excited to get things moving there. The course is looking really good. The irrigation system is up and running, and they're keeping their fingers crossed that it continues to stay in healthy condition. Also, I'd like to give an update on the farmers market. We have formed a subcommittee of City Council, and we've been working very closely with Jeanette Kessler and the Farmers Market Committee. We are very, very hopefully anticipating an opening sometime soon. It is going to be a very different market. It will not be the same social event of the week as we've always been used to at Hahnemann Park. It just can't be at this time. Right now, we're asking the committee to have their vendors begin formulating their stock online, that people would be able to go on a website and pre-order all their fruits and vegetables and prepay as well. It will be cashless. It will be a drive-through market at this time is what we're planning. I'm still looking at a couple of different locations. We're not sure exactly where it will be, but some of the vendors need to formulate this technology to upload all their inventories and to receive their payments. They're anticipating between 10 and 15 vendors. Normally they have at least 32 food-related vendors. There will not, according to our health department and state guidelines, we will not be able to have the fresh-made products right then and there. We will be able to have some things, the pre-packaged foods like clam daddies and a key lime pie company. We'll have flower growers. There are, I believe, 4 farmers who bring their wares to the market. They will be hopefully able to get this up and going. Kisby's Kitchen, the Goji Juice company that packages their beverages, their healthy juices. fresh mushrooms, pickles, and pretzels. Hopefully all of these vendors will be able to join us. As I said, it is not going to be like we used to have, that we're used to having with the cooking demonstrations and the children's tents, but hopefully things will settle down, and in the future we can go back to our market that we really have always loved. So hopefully in the next couple weeks we can get things, give them a date when they can anticipate opening, and we'll keep everybody informed of what's going on. And that's about it.
Perfect. Karen, thank you very much for the update, and thank you very much for all your efforts, and Jeanette and our green team. Everybody's working really hard, to keep our community in a good position. And I just want to remind people, like, keep in mind that a lot of the things we're doing are just first steps. We are trying to move Brigantine back in a position to get people as back to a normal life as possible. And I know a lot of the people who I've talked to about the farmers market, it's not just being able to buy things, but the experience of being at the market that really makes our market special. And, as things get better and things improve, we're hoping to be able to get to that point. But for right now, we're trying to take the very first steps that we can, to keep good, positive momentum moving forward. So again, Karen, thank you. And thank you to all our green team and farmers market members.
We've had some really great dialogues and a lot of great cooperation.
Perfect. And one of the things I wanted to know too, because Karen talked about this, but I know her and Councilman Mike Reardon have been looking at what other communities are doing to try to see, what works, what doesn't work, and what we can do to best meet the needs of our community. So I also want to commend them on their efforts, and we'll be sharing all this information and hopefully coming up with something that we can move forward on. Next up.
If I can just mention, I spoke with someone from Linwood today, and they've done 2 drive-throughs in the last 2 weeks, and things seem to be going well. It's definitely not as large as they have been used to, and Ventnor starts their walk-up this week. I'm going to go check that out, see what that looks like. We're also getting information from a lot of different, like Collingswood, and I believe it was Gloucester. So we're looking at all the different plans.
That's great.
Vince, if I could just say, I'd like to compliment Karen, yourself, and John Doring, and Jeanette Kessler, and all the team's efforts to get the market up and running amid the turmoil of the coronavirus shutdown. I mean, it's not all what we want, but it gets us something, and hats off to everybody for sticking with it. I was over at Linwood's market, drive-through market. It seems safe, so great job, and we'll try to get it open as soon as we can.
Perfect.
One more little issue is we are not going to be able to have the police and police backup that we've had in the past. We've had special officers to help us direct traffic. Our police department is going to be working short-staffed for a while this summer, and our public works as well. Our public works has been a tremendous help in the farmers market, and they're working short-staffed as well. So everybody just needs to be patient, and hopefully we can get things going soon.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Mike. Let's go to Paul Lettieri, 2nd Ward.
Everything is the same in the 2nd Ward, so don't hurt yourself trying to climb over the wall up over the island. We'll inform you as soon as possible to open it. There's still signage up there indicating that it's closed. The North Beach, however, above 14th Street to the observation tower is open, and you can drive up there with a current 4x4 permit, and up until Friday, when the permits will start to be sold, you can use last year's permit. But after Friday, you're going to be required to have a new 4x4 permit for that area. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Paul. Let's hear from Dennis Haney, our 3rd Ward Councilman.
Thank you, Vince. Thank Paul for his comments. I want to comment about the seawall myself in a little bit. And thank you to all the farmer market personnel and Karen for the work she did. Bit of a tall order considering everything that's been going on. So big thank you. to everybody involved in that. I just, on our last council meeting, in that chat room, I was kind of busy with a couple of things, and I had some shout outs and letters of support and chats of support, emails of support, if you will, from a few people, Amanda McNally, Roger, there's a couple other people on there, I believe, and also a couple of emails that I got during the week. So I just wanted to say thank you to those folks. I did not forget you. The second thing I wanted to say, I did touch on this, a couple of these last things. I touched on them last week, and I'm certainly not trying to be redundant here. However, the circumstances dictate, I think, that I do have to bring this up. First of all, regarding our flag, I know we followed suit as a municipality what the governor did with the state offices. On Memorial Day, traditionally, and we have Paul, who just spoke before me, he's a former vet, and so many of us have relatives. I've got a number of relatives myself. They're in the service. Thank God none lost their lives, but people paid the ultimate price. We honor those brave men and women on this day, with the flag being briskly raised at dawn on Memorial Day and then lowered to half-staff until noon, and then at noon raised again to show that our country just soldiers on, so to speak. And that's what we should be doing here with our own flag. I believe I see some flags at full staff as I drive around. I see enough at half staff. Don't get me wrong. I see part of what's being said, but I think in the end, it is a disservice to have that flag at half staff. I mean, if we just add up certain times where bad influenza seasons or all the people that have been lost in automobile accidents where we've had horrific years with things like that, we don't lower the flag for things of that nature. However, tragic events, it is lowered. Obviously, 9/11 being one of those, and so I just think I just don't agree with that. And with Memorial Day coming up, I just wanted to speak about that again. So that's the one thing I wanted to speak about. The second thing and final thing I wanted to speak about was the seawall. Karen talked about the golf starting up. We got all our big box stores like Home Depot, Walmart letting people in. There's a lot of people moving around with their N95 masks and face coverings. And why are seawall? Unfortunately, Andy's not here, and I hope he recovers ASAP. By the way, why our seawall is not open, I just don't understand. We are a country, the land of the free and the home of the brave, and we value our personal liberties in this country. We're not one of these communist countries with oppressive actions and things of that nature. We should be left to our own devices, and it's not a nanny state. I think we're at a point here where people should be able to go up on that seawall and take the necessary precautions if they deem that there might be some type of loose monitoring on it. Okay, I could see something like that, but I don't know how everybody feels about that. But at this time, if anyone else would like to voice their agreement with me on this, I urge you to speak up now. I don't think I had the last meeting. And there wasn't too much positive feedback on that, but I urge anyone right now at this moment, if you'd like to speak on that, speak up, and I'll have your back, obviously. Thank you.
Well, Dennis, if I could comment. One, I do agree with you. I'm in line with you. I think that one of the most fundamental principles about our system of government is freedom of choice. I do believe that people should be able to make decisions in their own lives. One of the things that we're also dealing with is that when it comes from the governor's office and it comes from the Department of Health, things are changing on a daily basis. There have been some regulations that have come down about opening areas like the seawall. And sometimes what happens is the governor's office makes a decision, tells people to do things. You put a lot of effort into doing that, and then they change their decision and they reverse pedal. So we try to make sure that we are moving forward in a good, positive way. One of the things I can tell you that I read from the governor's office is even with like the benches out on the seawall, in order for us to open that up, one of the requirements is that we have to remove all those benches. Well, I don't know how reasonable that is. I think the other thing we have to think about too, especially for our city departments and for public works, is there's a lot of things that are going on in the city right now, and there's only so many employees at one time to do things. And I know we're working to reopen things. Like one of them is the beaches, the community center. We're also looking at our recreational facilities. So we've had to prioritize a couple of things, especially with City Hall, and Public Works is literally working as hard as they can to get things open. As we get the city up and running, I know we are looking and hoping to get that seawall up and running too. And given a little bit of time, we might be able to find a clear way to reasonably open that up to make sure that we have the amenities of the seawall and the amenities for the beach. I know we've looked out to, you know, different places like Ocean City with their boardwalk, which is very similar kind of to the seawall and the fact that people can walk up there and enjoy the beach. I know they've put, you know, hand sanitation stations. They've done a lot of different things. So we're trying to work out what we can do is reasonable. I know the biggest fear we have right now as a city is that if we open things too quick, too fast, and are forced to shut down again, it doesn't help anybody. So I think we need to make sure that the things that we do correctly, that we move forward, that we can keep good forward progress, because no one wants to see things close down again. But again, Dennis, I agree with you 100%. I think we need to make sure that we're working to, you know, one, give people the choices they have in their lives, and two, make sure that we can get things open in a reasonable amount of time.
Well, okay, thank you, Vince. Now, if we had to say, you know, close off that access to our benches, maybe we wouldn't have to remove them. We could just cover them or do something of that nature. I don't know what Ocean City is doing exactly, but it's a fine example you bring up that there's people traveling on their boards, correct? Right.
Yeah,
so why we can't do anything similar to that and let people make their own decisions? Let people make their own decisions about that. We have people down who pay a lot of tax money, and things have moved forward. We really haven't regressed. And it is sad that we've seen some of these numbers lately regarding the elderly with nursing homes and assisted living, and the huge percentages of people that have passed away. And I won't get into the details of that other than say that there appears to be some malfeasance of duty at extremely high levels, at the highest levels of government. And for that to happen to our seniors, I don't want to get in a tangent, to our elderly, I should say. I don't want to get on a tangent with that, but that is inexcusable with the knowledge that was known. And what makes me bring this up, I guess, is some of our senior citizens, they like to go up there and maybe have a cup of coffee or whatever, but they want to stay away. Stay away. Do what you think is right. I just think that we are at a point right now where that could be open. It's one of the beautiful things of our city, and there's ways to deal with what is going on. And I do thank our Public Works with the incredible job they do with their infrastructure. All you have to do is just drive around town and you see those guys always out there working diligently and doing an excellent job. So nobody actually replied to what I said. Nobody gave me a yay on that. So obviously I know where the rest of council feels, but obviously everybody knows where I feel on that at the same time. So thank you for your feedback, Vince. Much appreciated.
Dennis, thank you for your comments. And I think it's important for us as council members to remember too, that part of our job as elected representatives is to bring forward the ideas of the community. You know, we look at, you know, through the lens of what's important to us and what matters, but it's also, you know, we work for the people of our community and we need to bring those ideas forward. So I really appreciate what you're sharing, Dennis, because I think it's important to hear that aspect of the community.
And I just want to add one last thing, Vince. I have people reaching out for me saying that they would like for it to be open. They want to see the seawall open. Yeah, there's a lot of, you know, they'll stay away. People stay away. If they don't want to go out, they'll stay away. A lot of people just want to go up there and, you know, do their thing.
Absolutely.
Dennis, my only concern would be that we have our senior citizens that would go up there, and then what happens when some very inconsiderate people come and, you know, infringe on our senior citizens' space? And, you know, that's just something to take into consideration there.
Well, we could look at that at any point in time, I guess, but in this point in time with the COVID-19, then they would know going up there regarding their own responsibility. Say, I'm going to go up there. I'm going to have my N95 mask, whatever. I'm going to have gloves. I'm going to have sanitizers. If I see too many people there and I don't like it, I'm taking the first exit off. I think there are ways around that. I appreciate your comments, Karen. I was in law enforcement a full career, and I locked up my fair share of bad guys, but I'm all about civil liberties too, and people being able to move about and do their things. We are not the nanny state, and we shouldn't be telling people how to run their lives, where to go. I think it's important with the social distancing and things like that to kind of do this gradually, but they're my feelings. And I thank you very much, Karen, for your comments as well.
Yep.
Yeah, and those comments are being echoed even at the county level. I don't know if people had an opportunity to read our county executive, Dennis Levinson's letter to the governor, talking about the fact that, one, people should be able to make choices, and two, what is the plan to start reopening things? So I think, Dennis, you're, moving in a good direction. I appreciate everybody's comments. Rick Talucri, do you, want to go update from the fourth ward?
Thanks, Vince. Not a specific fourth ward update, because the situation in the fourth ward, if you take out the issues that we're dealing with, and I'm sure you'll talk about from the beach committee with the four-wheel drive access on the Cove and the jetty beaches. In the fourth ward, we have the same issues as everyone else. Everyone gets frustrated because we don't like to be shut down even a little bit. And I'll deal with this in a moment. I take issue with Dennis's use of the phrase nanny state. Brigantine's not a nanny state. Brigantine's not part of a nanny state. Brigantine, in my opinion, is doing a lot of smart and necessary things, which you know perfectly well we don't really want to have to do, but we do. So I'm going to applaud my other council members and the city officials for taking a lot of heat from a lot of people. I'm sure I hear some of it. For the direction we're taking and the caution that we're exercising. And I'm going to say, I think it's 100% necessary. I wish, we all wish that the world were different. The world isn't different. We have to deal with what we have. And in terms of where New Jersey is, New Jersey, for being one of the hardest hit places, I think still probably the second hardest hit in the country, we are getting out of it, and we're getting out of it, under all the circumstances pretty quickly. And part of that is because the state and all the way down to us at the local level, took hard actions and stayed the course. And, we can see now, we heard Karen was talking about some big steps toward reopening, and I'm sure Vince and Mike will have some comments as well in that regard. And that's all good. But let's not lose sight. The phrase that we hear so much and that we say so glibly is that we're all in this together. Well, let's take a second and really think about that. We are all in this together. When we wear masks, it's not to protect me, it's to protect you from me in case I'm infected. When we have social distancing, it's to protect you in case I'm infected. My personal liberties, anybody's personal liberties, yeah, they're the bedrock of the nation and they're enshrined in our Constitution, but they're not absolute. And when we use them or abuse them foolishly and we impact other people, that's where our personal liberties have to end. You can't, in the interest of something which is a convenience, I'll put it in first person, I can't do things that are a convenience for me or something I want to do that are going to have or may very well have severe consequences on somebody else and their health, their liberties, simply because it's something I want to do. That's not the hand we've been dealt here. We have to continue taking the steps that we need to preserve public safety. And again, I'm very proud to be a part of the council and be a part of the city government that I think is doing that in an intelligent and a responsible way. This weekend, depending on the weather, maybe a test of where the public is in terms of, are we all in this together? We have a lot of restrictions, again, which I'm sure Vince will address, necessary restrictions. We reopen the beaches, or we allow them to be open, and public spaces are gradually being opened up, but there have to be restrictions because, the virus doesn't follow our rules. It doesn't go away. All you can do is protect yourself against it and over time, whether you have a vaccine, which is obviously the ideal conclusion, but get to that point, you have to have measures to protect and, to balance personal liberties and our desires to have quote unquote normal lives with the realities of what we're facing. So I'm just going to implore the people who visit our town, the people who live here this weekend, be smart, have some perspective. It's not an opportunity and shouldn't be an opportunity to grandstand or make statements about political beliefs or one's view of their constitutional rights, and nobody's going to tell me what to do. That's not what any of this is about. This is about us, our neighbors, your neighbors, trying to do the best thing for our town and to get us through this as quickly and as safely as we can. It's that simple. But we need everybody's help or it doesn't work. Thanks.
Hey, Rick, you did mention what I said about the nanny state. And I just maybe like to add and maybe clarify that I'm talking in a large overview right across our entire nation with some of the things that have been going on. I guess just from our local level, it's with things the way they've been settling down a little bit. It's not our place to save people from themselves when we're in a situation that's getting better. I mean, I do realize that our state and New York area is the epicenter of everything that went on. But I do think we need to be observant of things like our constitutional rights and our Bill of Rights and the things that there have been some violations from the other end. I just like to add that. That's basically what I was referring to as the nanny state. I don't think that anybody's, coming down hard-handedly, on our public, but I just look at it as a little misguided. I'll put it that way. Thank you. And thanks for your comments.
Sure.
And thank you for your comments.
Next up, can we hear from Councilman Mike Reardon?
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody that's tuned in here this afternoon. Over 100 people. I mean, it's fabulous to see these numbers that are tuning into these council meetings and having some input. We're getting emails, we're getting calls. It's very encouraging to work with the public and get things done. Rick, well said. As far as the virus itself, I've been looking and I've been talking to several of the council members about the numbers that in the county. And when you take out some of the smaller towns in the county like Corbin City and Folsom and Port Republic and all, we really have the lowest numbers considering our population and the amount of visitors that we get in this town and that we've gotten since the shutdown, so to speak. So I want to credit the mayor for his leadership and everybody else on council who has supported the moves that we've made so far. And Dennis, I could say as you're the council of the third ward councilman, you didn't get the calls from the residents of the second ward that live by the seawall, and Councilman Lettieri to attest to this also. And you're not getting the feedback from the residents that live around the seawall that appreciate the fact that we've shut it down because they were looking at people hanging out and congregating there. So, listen, it's short-lived. It'll be temporary. It's a temporary closure. And I want to say thanks, Paul. You can say something on this if you like, but the second ward residents that live up around the seawall, they appreciate what's being done. And, it'll be open shortly, and that's a good thing. So,
Mike, maybe some of them.
Dennis, you have your time. I'm talking.
You brought up what I had to say, Mike.
Dennis, okay? Just don't interrupt me, okay? Thank you.
I am going to interrupt
right,
you.
Dennis.
You got blustery enough.
All right, don't interrupt me. I'd interrupt you, okay?
One of the things I'd like if I could interject for a second. One, I think Councilman Reardon should have the ability to finish speaking, but I do think Dennis Haney should have an opportunity to respond when Councilman Reardon is done, just so we're not talking over each other in the meeting, please.
Thank you, Vince.
All right.
So the other big thing is with the expectations that the COVID-19 is going to be with us through the summer, as chairman of the Economic Development Committee and working with Angela Reynolds, who's on the committee, and as president of the Chamber of Commerce, we've been discussing about the expanded seating for the restaurants in town. And been talking to some of the other members of the committee also. Been in touch with Lauren Moore, the head of the Atlantic County Alliance, Economic Alliance, who was a former president of state tourism. So we're doing a lot with that. We're making a lot of progress with that also, so that when the governor does lift the orders on service at the restaurants and being able to sit down and get service there and eat in again. We know that there's going to be strict rules. So as I mentioned in the last meeting, the expanded outdoor seating, we're going to ease our restrictions in town. And I'm going to ask for Jimmy Bennett's comment also about this after a second here. But we're looking at expanding the outdoor seating areas, easing up the restrictions that we normally have. And the state also is talking about easing up on the restrictions to serve alcohol in those city-approved seating areas, possibly. So we're also looking at some other workarounds if the state does not allow the service of alcohol in the expanded seating areas approved by the city. As Atlantic City Boardwalk has allows open containers on the boardwalk, we're going to talk and we're going to talk with Fred and discuss the possibility of allowing open containers in the expanded seating areas. But maybe Jimmy Bennett, this is a good time for you to have some input here.
Okay, Mike. So Mike pretty much hit it on the head. About 2 weeks ago, we received guidance from the JIF, which is the Atlantic County Joint Insurance Fund, of which we are a member. And they sent me 2 forms that would allow, with our permission, a business to put outdoor seating into the public right-of-way. And what that means is for a restaurant, they would be able to encroach beyond the typical limits that they have now, providing that there's still a clear path for a pedestrian and or somebody in a wheelchair. So the businesses would submit these forms along with their plans to my office, and either Matt Doran or Mark Coyne will go down and inspect where they are asking for permission to use. If it's going to meet the requirements set forth with the ADA and pedestrian traffic, we would grant it. And so far, I have received it from 2 businesses. And as to the ABC, like Mike said, we are anticipating the state issuing a general one-time fee-based permit that will allow premise extensions. We simply can't just say, go ahead and serve alcohol anywhere you want with your liquor license. It has to be approved by the state. So the state is going to do that, and that will allow us to give the businesses like the Cove or the Cellar or St. George's the ability to serve alcohol in their outdoor seating areas that aren't already approved. But until then, we just kind of have to wait.
Okay. All right, thanks, Jim. So the other thing too is, as we initially went and talked to the businesses in town, the restaurants, we'd like to include some of the stores that would like a little space outside also, so they'd be able to space out their wares. And after Jimmy got the information and Fred sent him the information, thanks Fred for that, we went back and we're speaking with the different restaurants, and they're very, very happy to hear that we're doing something and looking forward. So now I did mention the Chamber of Commerce President, Angela Reynolds. I've been working with her and talking to her. She's had some great input. I don't know if she's still on here. Angela, if you're still on here, do you want to give us a little feedback on what you've heard and from the businesses? And if you're here, Angela, please. Jim, do you see her on here? I thought she was on. Let me see.
Stand by for a second, Mike.
Okay, thanks. Oh. I could see that she's still on the meeting. In the meantime, I would like to say too, thank you to all the veterans and you know, with the Memorial Day coming up, and something to look forward this weekend. If Angela's not here, I guess we could, I don't know, Vince, if you want to give her another minute.
I don't see her video up on the screen, Mike.
I see her.
It's there. It's there.
Yeah.
She's there. Her mic is muted though.
Okay. Yeah, here, you know what? She just texted me. Talk. Let's see. I'll text her back. Talk now.
She's unmuted now. Angela, go ahead.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Angela.
Just Mike and I have been working with the restaurant situation. It looks as though the state will provide a blanket statement of what is to happen through the ABC. If not, is there, I'm just wondering how long that may take. And is there a possibility of an expansion or a modification to our Ordinance 11 of 75, which applies to open containers? Could there be something just for this governor's time period that allows for the area that you have approved? So I guess that we'll wait to see when the governor's going to allow outside seating, and then go from there. And see if we need to do something else regarding that. A couple of other things, and I sent this in a message to Jim. The chamber has always been a huge fan of the farmers market, and actually we put a member of the farmers market committee on our board. I have to say, this year, with the change to the farmers market of just produce being offered, it's a little difficult for me as the chamber president to be 100% behind it when our brick and mortars are struggling so much. And we have a produce store right in town, the Brigantine Fishery. We have Brigantine Seaside Market, and who are here around and really struggling. So though I love the farmers market and want to see them do well, we're bringing in farmers that come and they go. And I'd like to see us help our local businesses and perhaps have those local businesses at least on that website, so people have the opportunity to order from them. Another comment about the seawall, but it's not chamber related, so I can wait until the public portion if you'd like.
All right, Angela, thank you very much. I appreciate all the help and everyone else who's helping out with the situation.
Can I just answer, Angela? That has been one of our major concerns, is that there are 3 or 4 different places, that establishments, brick and mortar places that sell fruits and vegetables on our island. And that's been part of the consideration in holding off on the farmers market. I will look into having them be part of the website, the ordering website, and I will get back to you on that as soon as I can find out. Okay, Ange?
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay.
If Mike's done, I want to give Dennis, I guess, an opportunity to respond. I know he was patiently waiting if he chooses to.
I'm fine, Vince.
Okay, just making sure. I didn't want to cut you off. First of all, I would really like to thank all of our city departments and our city employees. These have been unprecedented times, and across the board, our city employees have really stepped up to put Brigantine in the best possible position. One of the things that I think I'm most proudest of is that most of our city employees and most of our department heads have been working with each other to make sure that everybody's successful. And I really think it shows a good community and a good team spirit that we have here. Also, I really want to thank the community itself. There's been so many people who have reached out to all of our council members to try to give ideas or give guidance and try to help us. And it's really important. You know, we heard some council members talk earlier about how the fact that we're in the same boat, which I agree. We're in the same boat in the sense that we're dealing with COVID-19, but I don't think we're all in the same situation. And I think it's something that everyone really needs to think about as we move forward. For us, for the city, as we move forward and we work to get things open up, it's important to understand that a lot of decisions that we would normally make here at the local level have been taken away from us. And that really gets into the questions of, the idea of, what authority the state or local government has when it comes down to making these decisions. The one thing I know is that as we're able to make decisions and we're able to move forward, a lot of these are just first steps to getting things back open and getting back to a normal life. The other thing we have to realize is that just because we're able to open things up, it doesn't mean the risk of COVID-19 has diminished or gone away. Many experts believe that as things start to open up again, you could see a resurgence of outbreaks. It's also believed that South Jersey will start to see, numbers go up as the beach season and the summer tourism season goes forward. As we do things, it's really important for people to understand that we're simply giving people a choice in how they live their life, a choice in where they go. Something that I think is very important is that there's a lot of discussions that are going on at the county and state level about reopening the economy. And again, Dennis Levinson made some really good points in his letter that he sent to the governor. And I think we as a council should do something to support that letter. But, when he talked about the fact that with a lot of the restrictions, you have a lot of your big chain stores that are allowed to open, while a lot of the smaller local businesses, what we would say the mom and pop shops, are being kept closed. And I think we need to look at, one, what we can do at the local level to support the economy and support those positions, and two, to advocate on behalf of our business community to make sure that we can do reasonable things to get our people up and working. Something people need to consider for a lot of the big chain stores, they make money all year round. Our local businesses have about 10 to 12 weeks to make it. And if they can't make it in that time, they might not recover. I'm not pushing for council to make any decisions today, but I think we need to start to think about and develop a real plan on how we move forward. One instance, I think we need to be supportive of the effort, that the governor and the state is doing. I recognize that people are trying to keep everyone safe. I think we also need to look at it from a local perspective to see what we can do to help our businesses succeed. Some of the big questions we get too is with the beaches. What's happening with the beaches? Probably number one question I get all the time has to do with the Cove. A decision was made to close down the Cove, and part of this has to do with manpower. When we get into some of the major issues we have out on the beach, the Cove is our hot beach for issues. We have a lot of problems down there. With the police academies being closed, we are not in a position where we are able to have the Class 1 police officers that we would normally have out there, helping to regulate that. So a decision was made in order to keep the other 4x4 beaches open. We would close down the Cove and concentrate people to our front beaches. We hope to be in a position where we're able to meet the staffing needs to be able to open that Cove at a later date. We're just not there yet. Having the front beaches open helps us consolidate our efforts and our energies, making sure that we can make good progress. One of the things that for me personally that I hope, and I'm already starting to see this out on the beaches now, is that the behavior that our community members demonstrate puts us in a strong position to open that Cove, and we have seen that across the board. I know Mayor Simpson himself, on every beautiful day we've had, he's gone out and driven on the beach and looked to try to make sure that people are making good choices and people are doing the right thing. What I hear from him, the reports I hear from our city manager, that come back in from our police department, is that people are making good choices. People are distancing themselves the best they can, and that puts Brigantine in a very good position, to move forward. One of the things that has come out is, should we do restrictions on daily beach tags? One of the good things about our beach, and that's very unique, especially when it comes to Atlantic County beaches, is we have some of the largest beaches in Atlantic County. People have plenty of room to spread out. So one of the things we want to do is just kind of see how things go. We can make changes as we move forward. But one of the things, we want to make sure that the changes and the decisions we're making as a city make sense. And I really appreciate it, especially we have a lot of varying opinions and varying ideas on council and different philosophies, but those philosophies help shape a direction that we can all begin to move in on. So I think too, one of the big questions that I've actually asked some of our local realtors to join us today, because I think it's important for the community. I think it's important for council to hear firsthand from people who are out on the front lines of some of this too, especially when it comes to our, rental ban and our rental restrictions. I don't think that council should make a decision today, especially in the fact that Mayor Andy Simpson is not here in attendance with the meeting. I think it's something we should all do together. But I do think we need to hear from our realtors and hear from some of the people out there. I think the city needs to come up with a real plan on how we move forward. There's a number of towns who are rolling back their restrictions. I think we need to look at how they're rolling them back and do something that's meaningful for Brigantine. Not that it's something that's going to be done today or be done really quick, but we need to start moving forward and get people into a position where they're back to a normal life. Understand, with every decision we make, there's a lot of push and pull. In the one instance, we're looking at the fact that we need to help our local businesses, we need to help our local economy, and especially too, you have to include those investment properties that are here on the island that rent out those properties as part of our business community. We need to look at their concerns. We also need to look at the concerns of the community. And as people start to come in, as those numbers start to go up, what impact will it have on our COVID-19 numbers? Councilman Reardon brought up a really good point that when you look at Atlantic County, Brigantine has some of the lowest numbers in the county. And I really think that's an attribute to our community itself and the good choices that they're making. But it's something that council needs to consider as we move forward. There's been a lot of questions too about ADA access to the beach, putting out our beach mats, opening up the seawall. One of the things, if I could, I would like to ask either Jim Bennett or John Doring if we had an update on the beach mats themselves.
I'll let Mr. Doring provide any details, but sometime in the next 2 weeks, we should have them out fully. As we've all heard and said a million times, Public Works is busy. They're running at max capacity. And when I spoke to John last about it, we anticipate having out the next 2 to 3 weekends maximum.
All right, perfect. Yeah, it's good to know that that's moving forward. I think those beach mats are really great in helping people to get out and enjoy the beaches. And, again, I really want to thank Public Works for their efforts. I know they're really working hard to get things up and moving and ready for summer. The other thing we talked about too, and this came up in the beach committee, was ice cream on the beach. One of the things we needed to do is get guidelines from the Atlantic County Board of Health on how we move forward. My understanding from the Atlantic County Board of Health is that ice cream on the beach will be treated very similarly to any of the other ice cream shops that would open. So, if we're okay with those regulations, we can put something together to make sure that the vendors for that understand what the protocols are and procedures. If we could start to begin maybe that process of at least getting people licensed and getting their paperwork filed so we can put them in a position to open up in the near future. So I'd like to ask Jim if you could just follow up on that.
Sure thing. I started a document already that I'll give to the mercantile office. So when they start coming in to make their applications, they'll know exactly what's required of them.
All right, perfect. And something to note too, especially with beach tags and 4x4 permits, there's been a lot of discussion out there. I think one of the things we tried to do when our city offices had to close is make sure that we disrupted life as much as possible. There was a decision to obviously honor the 2019 permits. I believe once the beach fee office opens again, there'll be an extension, at least right now, until June 5th, where the city will continue to honor the 2019 permits. We want to make sure that people know they don't have to all rush in at once to get those 2020 permits. And then I had a question about beach tags too. I want to make sure my understanding is correct, is that the city won't start checking for beach tags themselves on the beach until June 20th. Is that correct?
Yes, Deputy Mayor, that's correct. We typically don't start enforcement of the beach tags and the parking lot permits until the third week of June. That's when most of the New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania schools are out and people are here full time or more often.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that people understood they didn't have to rush in on that first day in order to make sure they get their tags. One, people can use the Viply app, buy them online. This way it'll stop them from having to wait in lines or being inconvenienced. Two, once the office opens up, which I believe is this Friday, people can also purchase them in person. So just to let people know, we're trying to do this as seamlessly as possible. Jim, do you have any, updates from you as a city manager? We might have covered everything, but I just want to make sure I didn't exclude you.
No, I think you covered everything well. I would just like to add a quick statement on the beach fee the beach tags. The senior permits and the free veterans permits cannot be purchased through the Viply app because you have to provide identification. Everybody else, I would highly recommend that they purchase them on the Viply app. And when the beach tagger comes up to you, all you have to do is show them your receipt on your phone and they'll give you the beach tags. Because I can guarantee you that this weekend it's going to be a mob scene at the community center with people waiting to get their four-wheel drive permits, parking permits, and beach tags. Thank you.
Perfect. I just, before we open up to the public, I just want to take some time to honor and recognize as we come into Memorial Day weekend, all of our veterans and all of our active military on the island. Something to always remember is that everything that we have great in this country, our safety, our protection, our liberties, came at a cost. And it was our veterans and our military that gave us those gifts and gave us those freedoms. And for us as council people, gave us the ability to be here and to serve the public the way we do. So if people could take some time this weekend just in remembrance of all of those people who were willing to sacrifice their lives in order for us to have a better life. At this time, Jim, I'd like to open it up to public comment. If you could just let us know, where to start.
Okay, Deputy Mayor, I'm going to be reading off a series of questions that I received in the chat side of it. These are folks who don't have audio. They can hear you, but they don't have the ability to speak back. And I'll let those folks know who have posed these questions that the responses, interactions from our end are going to be limited. We can't spend a lot of time going back and forth here translating questions. So the first one is from Andrew Whitehead of 3319 Ocean Avenue. And he has a two-part question. First one is, what proposals have been submitted by the city to the state for guidance on opening up short-term rentals? If not, why not? Other short towns have done this and are opening up. Second question is, the mayor stated in last month in a public meeting that he would look into measures to reopen occupancy to short-term rentals based on the curve flattening. And the curve has been flattening. This is what measures are going to be implemented, if any, and what's the plan? Again, that's from Andrew Whitehead, 3319 Ocean Avenue. You got it, Lynn?
Yeah, I think, obviously very good questions. I think that right now what council really needs to consider is how we move forward. I think these are very fair statements. I can't speak for the mayor right now because he's not here, so I don't know what specific numbers he's looking at. But I do think council really needs to seriously consider how we move forward. I know that in my conversations with the city manager, we have looked at what other shore towns are doing. A number of shore towns are starting to open up those restrictions to varying lengths. I've actually been in contact with some local realtors here on the island getting guidance on how Brigantine can move forward and do something reasonable. We're looking to, one, put together a plan, and two, have something in the next couple of weeks to share publicly. I just don't want to speak on behalf of the mayor since he is not in a position right now to speak his mind. But yeah, we are working on that, and I do think that council needs to put together a plan, a reasonable plan about how we move forward with that issue.
Okay, thanks, Vince. The next one comes from Teddy Davis, 2499 Ocean Avenue. And it is, what are the current beach restrictions, if any?
Right now, current beach restrictions is that people should do their best to social distance. Right now, we're allowing, sunbathing and swimming at protected beaches, surfing and fishing, and other water things are okay right now. I understand, according to the governor's guidelines, that families can sit together and people who live in the same household can sit together, but it's requested that people who don't fit in that category try to separate themselves as best as possible. I believe the state has recommended that people wear face masks. I don't know that the city's really in a position to enforce wearing face masks. I think that has to be a personal decision on people's parts. I don't know how you wear face masks in the water or things like that. So I think people have to use reasonable common sense. Right now with our 4x4 beaches, we have the north 1,500 feet of our 4x4 beach open. Obviously, the state has what they do. I don't know the state's regulations on Maryland. The South Jetty is open right now. We are hoping to be in a position to reopen the cove soon. Beach Committee has recommended that we put numbers or limitations on the number of vehicles that are allowed to access the 4x4 beaches. My understanding from the police department is they would like to take some time to see, what's happening on the beaches and how we can proceed forward, because it might not be necessary. So it's just something we're going to monitor on a day-by-day basis to make sure that, we can keep our beaches open to the best of our abilities.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. The next one is from a Linda Costello, 108 Hudson Drive. She wanted to know if there was an update on when the condominium association pools will be open. And she had a follow-up question with, can you separate the lines for beach tags versus the drive-on permits? Perhaps the beach tags and parking permits can be at a table outside, at a different table than the drive-on permits. This would alleviate the crush of people inside the beach office. I will give a short answer to her second question, then I'll turn it to you, Deputy Mayor. The short answer is we have a limited number of people working in there, limited number of cash registers running. So while we physically could separate the different permits, it really would make no difference as far as the amount of time it's going to take, because we only have certain amount of stations to process the payments and the paperwork. So it's over to you, Deputy Mayor.
All right, thank you. As it comes to, I guess you would consider private pools or pools for condo development, as far as I know, the city has not received any guidance from the governor's office on that. We are waiting. As soon as we have some information on that and some guidance, I've actually asked the city manager to share that guidance with the property managers or the I guess the representatives of those different condo associations. But right now, it's not our decision. It's something with the governor, and we're waiting on guidance for that. So I wish we had some more information on that.
Okay. The next one I think you covered, but I'll ask it anyway, just so you can reiterate it. From Mike Andrew. He lives at 2 Ontario Drive. He was questioning why the cove was closed still, and if we have any plans to open them. But again, I think you covered that. We're going to be working closely with the police department to try and anticipate what a safe number of everything is going to be, and then we'll make our plans from there.
Perfect. Yeah, and that's what we want people to know is we are working to reopen everything. Part of it has to do with manpower. Part of it has to do with just making sure that if we open too quick, too fast, we get forced to shut down again. That's the last thing anybody wants. And even when I talk with some of the people in the business community, their fear is that things aren't real good right now. They're starting to get something. They're starting to move forward, and they're afraid that if the governor shuts things down again, then they lose what little ground they gave. And I think it's important for us at the council level to look at what we can do locally, to keep things moving forward and to build on the momentum that was already created.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm going to turn this over to Bill Black. Let him give his information out. So Bill, if you hang on just 1 second, or if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question, go ahead.
Can everybody hear me? Hello?
What do you have,
Flag.
Paul?
Ms.
Okay,
Flag.
great, thank you. And thank you, council, for having the opportunity to speak. The one comment I wanted to make was that we have 2 houses that we rent during the summer. And from Memorial Day till into September, I looked at all the clients we have, and they're all families, and they're families that come year after year. We have very few openings. And they love the island. And it's just interesting to see that we've had the virus discussions with everybody, and they've all been adjusting to the new norm as that continues to evolve. And we feel that in the case where they just want to come down, they're not interested in intermingling with people. They want to support our stores with the takeout on food, our local stores as far as produce perhaps, and enjoy maybe a walk on the beach. But it's interesting to see that they're all aware right now that changes are in play, and they just want to know what to do. And in the conversations I have with them, I support the efforts that you're doing in keeping our public safe, ourselves safe, as well as our guests. And I think that we can continue with the short-term rentals in an effective manner and not cause any increase of spikes with how we do our business and having our guests come down the islands. It's really difficult right now to tell them that right now we're in the shutdown state, and yet they're families that really truly do have it together. I mean, we don't rent to party crowds, and I know in the past we've had some party crowds or people that have defied the order that you've had out there to stop rentals, and that's caused a bad mark on people that are doing the right thing. But I feel like if we given the opportunity, we would be able to continue with the short-term rentals immediately if that would be acceptable to council to consider. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Bill, I think you bring up some really good points, and I think it's important too to note that it's just because a few people make poor decisions, it shouldn't impact all the people who make the right decisions. And it's something, as I said, we as a council need to put together a real plan on how we move forward. There are discussions and very serious discussions every day, but I think we are at a point where we, obviously need to make a decision and start to move things forward. So thank you.
Hey, Deputy Mayor Robin Taylor, she's up next. Robin, you should be unmuted, so go ahead.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Robin.
For those of you that don't know, I own and operate the Aquatic Center, and also we manage 12 pools on the island. The problem has been with the state is that they're lumping a facility like mine with a gym, or they're lumping together condos, private condo pools with public pools that allow everyone to come in. And I've been trying to get through. I spoke with Jenny's office, and I've been talking with Chris Brown as well. There needs to be an ear at the governor's level to separate these facilities, because we have a plan to open up our facility to single families and do reservations to use the facility. We already know that the disease does not spread well on the water.
Okay.
So, but the thing is, there is no one to talk to. I've sent the plans to the council. I'm sure you've gotten them by now via email. And I also sent them to the governor's office and also Purcell's office. So I'm hoping that somewhere down the line that we can separate what's going on in condos and a facility like ours.
Yeah, Robin, I think one, I was aware that your email was coming, but I haven't personally seen it yet. I would like to take some time, and I think council should take some time to review the plan. And obviously if it's something that we can move forward on, I think we as a council should advocate on your behalf to write a letter, obviously to, Senator Chris Brown, to County Executive Dennis Levinson, and to the governor, to try to see what can be done. I know Mayor Simpson actually has an opportunity to speak with the governor on a conference call every week, and I'll see if Mayor Simpson can speak with him directly on that issue to see if we can at least get somebody there to look at your plan and try to move something forward. You know, because I think it's really important.
When I spoke with Chris Brown's office, his chief of staff said that, you know, he said, your facility doesn't fall into any category whatsoever. Open is what his words were to me. You know, he said, you just don't fall under essential, non-essential. You don't fall, we're just unique that we don't have a gym. We only have 100,000 gallons of water and the front door. It's extremely frustrating because we've been here 19 years.
Yep, yeah.
And we've taught over 5,000 children, not to mention the ones that have taken it to the next level and the ones that are out there swimming in colleges, the ones that are on the beach patrol.
Yep.
If we don't exist anymore, I think there'll be a hole in the community.
Absolutely.
So, and the way things are going, I don't know how much longer we can hang on. So, I mean, it is what it is. I understand that there's no answer from you, Vince, or the city or the council. But if I can't make my voice heard somewhere, it's frustrating.
So I was just making a note too. Absolutely. I mean, one, you need to have your voice heard. And two, I think, as I said, you know, council needs to review your plan, and obviously we need to get behind you and get behind all of our local businesses and advocate to the governor's office about how we move things forward. You know,
I'm sorry. In the summer, we employ over 40 people.
Right.
You know, I mean, we have a lot of people that work for us in the summer, and without those condo pools being open, they'll all be out of jobs.
Right. And that's one of the unfortunate things with this whole situation is the unintended consequences. You know, in one instance, you know, you have some government agencies talking about the health and safety of people. And in the next instance, those same decisions are putting people in a position where they can't work and they can't support their families. You know, and I think it's really the direction that we need to start to think about is, you know, what are the priorities? Do you have people, you know, get sick of COVID-19, or do you have them lose everything they have? You know, a lot of council has spoken with a number of business owners who are literally, you know, very close, if not at bankruptcy. You know, and that's something we really need to consider. Like, what is it that we can do here at the local level to put people in a position, you know, where they're not losing their businesses, where they're not losing their homes? You know, so I'm sorry, go ahead, Rob.
Once you have an opportunity to see what I sent you, rather than take up the time of the council and everybody else that's watching, I would love to have an opportunity to go over some of those points with you.
All right, perfect. And I'm pretty sure I have your phone number. If not, I'll make sure I'll shoot you an email back and we can talk. And definitely, Robin, thank you. I really appreciate it.
266 swim. It's easy.
It's perfect.
Robin, can I just add something, Robin? I saw your email earlier today, I guess, and I think you just sent it today, I believe. And I looked into that, and I couldn't agree more with you. It covers public swimming areas and different things of that nature, and it mentions gyms and it mentions pools, but you're not really addressed specifically. And I don't, and I feel for your situation. And I know the excellent job you've done there over years. Both my boys, as you know, swam there, and they both ended up doing high school swimming as well. Vince, like maybe would it be possible? I know that we have different avenues maybe that we can make a little bit more headway for, but whether it be Andy or if you're filling in for Andy in one of the, whether we could just shoot an email to the appropriate person, or maybe in one of those meetings you have, we can find something out for Robin the best we can do, you know?
Yeah, I think one of the things I'll ask Mayor Simpson to do is when he speaks to the governor, if there's someone that we can send it directly to. I know the governor's office is very overwhelmed, but Andy's built up some good relations there, and if there's someone who can directly review it and at least give us some guidance or give us, you know, some feedback on what we can do, I think that's probably the best thing as we can move forward. Like Robin said, you know, the most important thing is making sure that, you know, her voice is heard. And it sounds like she has reached out to a lot of different levels and hasn't really gotten a solid response back. So, Dennis, I think that's a good point.
Yeah, I looked at the governor's executive orders, searched some things online, read a bunch of the orders in detail, and I couldn't really find anything that addressed privately owned pools open to the public. So I feel for Robin, and it's a legitimate concern. Yeah, thanks, Vince. And thank you, Robin.
Vince, can I say something real quick?
Sure, Mike.
Okay. So Robin, the good thing is, we all have, we're all behind you. We all support you on this. And thank you for everything you've contributed to the island over the years. And your daughter's doing a fabulous job coaching at high school now, too. She's really brought the program back. You can see she's in the background there. But one thing I can do is, one thing to try to help out is, as soon as the meeting's over and I get a chance to look at the email you sent so I can have more information, I'll put a call out to Chris Brown right away to get an update, and I'll get in contact with you. So I can do that,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that.
All right, next up, Amanda McNally. Amanda, if you're there, go ahead and unmute yourself or let me know and I will unmute you.
No, I'm here. I think most of my comments were addressed. I think they were regarding the rental ban and when that was going to be lifted. The one, and also what our metrics looked like for determining when it was appropriate to lift that ban. The one comment, though, I would make for consideration is simply that when we do decide to lift the rental ban, I'm hoping that there's enough notice given so that we can go ahead and, put that on our, VRBO and Airbnb. I'm looking at those sites right now, and the marketing sales side of me is freaking out because I know that renters from Ocean City and LBI and Ventnor and Margate are all going to those towns and bypassing Brigantine. So, I'd love to get enough notice so that we can start drumming up some renters for when that ban's lifted. Thank you.
Amanda, thank you. That is a very good point, and that's something we've talked about behind the scenes as council with many of our decisions. That a lot of times it's not just as quick as being like, all right, tomorrow you can do this. Like, people need some prep time and some lead time to make sure that, one, they can comply, and two, that it's reasonable to make things work. So that's something we're very aware of. And Amanda, thank you for sharing that with us.
Can I have Amanda's address? I didn't hear that.
Yep, I put it in the comments. I have two. It's 331 41st Street and also 323 44th Street.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one up, Deputy Mayor, is Irene Rankin. Irene, if you're there, please unmute yourself and go ahead. Name and address for the clerk. Irene Rankin.
I was wondering if someone could talk to me about what's going on at the Rod and Reel.
Irene, you need to give your name and address for the record to the city clerk, please.
113th Street North.
Sure. Jim, do we have an update on what's going on with the Rod?
So the last update that I got from the property owner was that he was awaiting some final approvals from the DEP before he brings it forward. He is going to be putting in a gabion wall back behind the site. So right now, some of the equipment from the site from the work site is being stored there. It belongs to Mace Enterprises. So they are not actively working until he gets the rest of his permits in order, and then he'll bring his subdivision plans and everything to the full planning board.
Can of worms, dumpster, and I believe now people are using that as a dumping ground. I see people dumping off dirt, excess dirt, twigs, sticks from construction. And it's starting to get a little bit dumpy looking.
I guess, Jim, can we have, our city inspector just kind of look in on that and have the police keep an eye out to make sure that people aren't illegally dumping there?
Deputy Mayor, yes, I'll follow up with construction and zoning and let them know the complaints from Mrs. Rankin. And as the police have manpower and availability, I'll make sure that they go by there as well.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Next up is Maria Handel. Maria, go ahead and unmute yourself if you can.
Hi, everyone. Maria Handel, 1300 Varden Circle. Number one, thank you, everyone. I know these are unprecedented times, and thank you for everything you're doing. Is there any way I have two things. Is there any way that we can please open the large fields up for our children? Football field, baseball field, softball field, not the parks, but they need room, they need space to run. Obviously, those three areas are large enough that kids can play at a distance together.
I mean, it's definitely something we can look into. I guess I would have to check with our superintendent of public works, or at least get some research to see how those large fields fall under the governor's regulations. My understanding is they're counted as recreational facilities, which have not specifically been open yet, but I think it's something we can look into.
Okay, thank you. And then number two, I know not to beat a dead horse, but the effects of not being open for Memorial Day weekend is devastating to our small business members. Absolutely devastating. And there is an answer. The answer is to get a plan in place. Please, city councilman, please get a plan in place with a date for things to start opening up, for our rentals to start opening up. Is it safe to say that by the next meeting, there will be a plan with dates? How do the council members feel?
I can tell you this is a discussion that a lot of council has had, and Mayor Simpson and I have gone back and forth a lot. Part of what we were looking at is what decisions was the governor making, what decisions we're giving back to local communities. And now that we have a better handle on that, I think we as a local government need to put together a plan to put out to the community, because you're right, being closed on Memorial Day weekend is very, very harmful to our local businesses. That wasn't a decision that was made at the local level. We are now gaining momentum, and we are now gaining more and more ground on the decisions that Murphy is allowing local governments to make. And I think we need to look at those decisions, make reasonable decisions to go forward and reasonable plans, and start to release those dates. And that's, where we're getting to now this week with the guidance that, one, we've had from the governor's office, and two, the conversations that we've had with mayor and council. So we are working towards that point. And I do think we should have something, that we should be able to release to the public soon.
Our neighbors to the north and south have already, rolled this out. And I think some of the frustration is coming from not having a plan or date. So thank you for your answer. How does the rest of council feel?
Maria, if I can just tell you, like Deputy Mayor Finn said, we're definitely working on it. And I think it's moving along quite well. And the good news is that we don't have to wait till the next meeting to hear if it's going to be open or when it's going to be opened. Our city manager is involved, and he can open it up or withdraw it when we have the set date. So and believe me, we're looking at north and south, and so it's we understand.
Thank you.
One of the things that Councilman Reardon was talking about too is when he's speaking about the rental ban. Rather than pass that rental ban through resolution or ordinance, we actually did it through an executive order through the city manager. What that does is it gives us flexibility. We wanted to make sure that if we were in a position to open things up, we didn't have to wait for council to vote on it, that if we had a consensus of council, we could give direction to the city manager to move forward. It was actually a good decision on behalf of Mayor Simpson to make sure that we, him being very business-minded, that we were in a position to take action and move forward and not be delayed by 2-week meeting periods.
Thank you. And thank you for your comments about the veterans. If everyone could please reach out to a veteran this weekend, that'd be awesome, because a lot of them have been in their homes since this began. Thank you.
I second your feelings also, Maria. I tried, I read that Wildwood was shooting for June 1. I couldn't find an official document or something related to official document, but yeah, we need to obviously work towards that. And along with what Vince and Mike were saying, even should it need be, if we wanted to have an emergency council meeting, we could do that as well. But like Vince said, there's, we could go around that as well. We could go directly to our manager, Jim Beth.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, next up, I have Andrew. He's on the telephone. So Andrew, if you're there, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello, Andrew Whitehead, 3319 Ocean. You hear me?
We got you, Andrew.
I think so, yeah.
All right, yeah, this is regarding the rental ban as well. I just want to let you know I have many homeowners that I deal with, not just my own property, and they're all expressing grave concern about this. And you stated that you would be able to lift this based off a plan. I want to let you guys know that we do have a plan as homeowners and people that rent to guests as far as cleanliness, disinfectants. We've also been advised by rental platforms such as VRBO and Airbnb to implement cleaning standards and disinfectant standards, allowing wait times in between rentals to allow for ventilation purposes. So I just want to let you guys know that the homeowners who rent have this plan in place. And those that don't, there is guidance out there for us to use in order to ensure that everybody is safe that is coming down already to use the beaches this weekend and Memorial Day weekend and subsequent dates. So, don't feel the pressure that you have to come up with a plan yourself. We do have this plan already to do. So, just lifting the ban itself would be the plan in order to help us reopen and help all our local businesses there. Thank you.
Thank you. And Andrew, that is what you brought up about cleaning and wait times has actually been a big part of our discussion this week as we move forward. A couple local realtors have reached out with the same kind of guidelines. So we're obviously looking to include that on our guidelines, when we're in a position to move forward. But I think that's a very good point that, people are willing to take appropriate steps to try to ensure the safety and cleanliness as best as possible.
And if I could just say one thing also, Andrew, we appreciate that input. And before, when Amanda was mentioning about the VRBO and all, people can go on and make reservations. I don't know if you have properties on Airbnb and VRBO also, but the people can go on and make the reservations for that first weekend in June right now. So you're not blocked from Airbnb and VRBO. I know they did block out the whole month of May. City Manager Bennett, they've contacted the companies, and isn't that right, Jim? And it's just for the month of May. So people can reserve and book, and hopefully things unfold, and you guys can work your plan. Is that right, Jimmy?
Yeah, Mike, that's correct. We're going to send them all another letter, unless I get some guidance from council within, the next week or so. We have to send them another letter asking them to put the calendar block in again, or it will open up.
Right. And the other thing too is the inspections there have been inspections going on also. Isn't that right, Jim?
They've been scheduling them. I don't know when they're actually doing them, but
right.
Jack Murray asked me for permission to continue to schedule them so that they didn't get bombarded, and so that the property owners wouldn't have to wait once the ban is lifted. They could just go right in.
So it would be good if there's any property owners at the meeting here today or otherwise that they can go ahead and call and at least make an appointment.
I would highly recommend that, because once we do lift the restrictions, anybody that hasn't gotten it done is surely going to pile up, and there will be a wait. Let there be no mistake about it. They have limited number of inspectors there, and they're not going to be able to get them all done, in a day or two to get the property ready for rental.
All right, that's good. So Andrew and Amanda, I hope that helps a little bit. Thanks.
I appreciate that. And so the unofficial word would be June 1st based off of what you guys are saying.
I couldn't
say that we're not at a point where we're committed to a specific date. We are putting together a plan now. I think too, with Mayor Simpson not being a part of the discussion right now, it's hard to give a specific date on when we're going to open. We are working towards a plan with a specific date to try to move forward. So like I said, just to be fair to Mayor Simpson, who's not here right now.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, and the only thing I did read regarding that June 1 date was that Cape May County banned short-term rentals last month, but will allow them to resume on June 1. But like I said, I did find a letter from the county, but I couldn't find something that specifically just stated that, so I don't want to misspeak. Thanks.
Okay, Deputy Mayor, next up, Angela Reynolds. She has something for public comment. Angela, go ahead.
Can everyone hear me?
Your audio is really muted. You sound like you're talking into fishbowl, Angela.
I don't know why.
That's better.
Better? Okay. Obviously, being the president of the chamber, I'm on several economic committees, whether it be municipal or county or regional. So there's nothing that I'd like to see more than for our town to open back up and have a strong summer. And all of us on those economic committees hate the phrase, the new normal. But that's what it's going to be, the new normal. And we as professionals have to grasp that we have to understand that. And that the decisions that are being made are data driven and not necessarily economically, emotionally, necessity driven. So data tells us yesterday, the Philadelphia Inquirer put out that Delaware County, which is one of our largest contributors to second homeowners and renters to the area, had their highest 14-day COVID returns yesterday. So what that's telling us is that there's a large percentage of those Delaware County people that are headed to our town may have been infected. That was inconvenient to have our seawall closed, things like that. I think that we need to be understanding that there's just so much gray area with this. There is no black and white answer to it. And on a personal level, I'm going to tell you that I have tested positive for the antibody several times. So I am someone that suffered symptomatically in February with this virus. I don't wish it on anyone. And so when Councilman Haney says that he doesn't think that it's our responsibility if people aren't smart enough to stay off the seawall or to get off the seawall, I do think it's your responsibility. I think it's our community's responsibility to save anyone that we can. I'm very happy to be sitting here. It was a terrible thing to live through. I'm very glad that I did live through it. And so I think that we all need to take a step back, and it's very inconvenient. I'm a realtor. I know more than anybody how inconvenient it is. And I'm involved in a restaurant. I get it all. But I think council does need to take everything into consideration. I think the biggest problem right now is the lack of information. I think at least if owners knew, okay, June 15th, that's when you're opening, then you can react accordingly. And I think that though there would, and I'm just using that as a broad date, not that they would be happy with losing a couple of weeks, but at least they could make a plan, and I think that's the problem. But I think that the public needs to understand that the data that's coming in is not good. And we're at the beginning of our rental season, so we don't know what to expect. This is nothing that we've ever encountered before. So hopefully council will look at it as your responsibility and we'll handle it accordingly.
All right, Angela, you did bring up a name. I just want to say there's two sides to that coin, obviously. So I'll just leave it at that, I guess.
Angela, I'd like to, thank you for your efforts too. I know you and Mike have been working together to try to, get things moving for our businesses and our local economy. And I also want to applaud your efforts, for communications. And I think it's very, very important, for the city and obviously for the chamber to make sure that we're communicating, just letting people know, where we are, what's going on. Because what I hear from a lot of people is it's the hardest part about this is all the uncertainty. I know the city has kind of stepped up its efforts to make sure we're communicating information as it becomes available. And I really appreciate that you've been helping to get that information out as well. So that it's great to have good community partners like the chamber and like yourself, in order to help us in these times. So Angela, thank you very much.
Okay, the next one I have on my list through the chat is Susan Scattergood. Susan Scattergood.
Hi, I believe that you may have answered my first question about whether or not you were going to limit beach tags. It sounds like that's not going to happen. And my second question was about the kids who go up and down the beach checking tags, and that a lot of towns have people at the walkways, which seems to me a better control method. And have we ever considered that?
Yeah, it's actually something we've looked into and something we've actually discussed from the beach committee. The biggest issue we run into that is just we don't have the staffing that some of the larger shore towns like Ocean City has. Like Ocean City literally stations somebody at every single beach entrance. We just don't have that capability. What our taggers do is they do go out, they do walk the beaches, and they do station people at the heavy trafficked beaches to try to get people that way. I mean, in an ideal world, we would be able to put people at every entrance. We just don't have the capability of doing that. One of the biggest issues we've run into in the last couple of years with both Beach Fee and the Beach Patrol is getting enough staff to work in those positions. Unfortunately, more and more young people are in positions where, they're working so hard for school, they're taking summer internships, and they're just not taking the summer jobs like they used to. Last year, council actually worked out a plan to try to, at least for a beach fee, to try to raise the salary in some of those positions to attract maybe some adults into taking those positions. So we want to see how that works out this year and if we're able to try to get the staffing we need to meet our demands. But I think you make up a very good point.
Thank you. And I should have, I'm Susan Scattergood. I live at 305 West Beach. I should have mentioned that before. I appreciate your response, and I appreciate the last couple of council meetings I've attended. I think that everyone has handled themselves so well, and it's been great information. So thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you, Susan. We appreciate the kind words.
Deputy Mayor, I'm just, okay, Frank Sikorsky. Mr. Sikorsky, you're up. If you go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you, Jim. And ladies and gentlemen, I originally had 3 points. I was trying to bring them in at the appropriate time, but I guess if everything's going to get written down, we can go back and do that. But after hearing Robin speak, I have now 4 points. I kind of believe that if her operation doesn't fall into any of the categories, she should be allowed to reopen. I know a lot about that business. Social distancing is very easy. And even the students and children who are training swimming from swim teams, they don't need to get near each other. They don't need to touch each other. So I think you ought to be able to, look to her, and there she is on my screen, look to her and say, okay, Robin, go. And one of the other reasons being, I know there was a lifeguard class that was interrupted as we were forced into isolation because my grandson, who popped in here a couple times, it was a student and his lifeguard training got interrupted. So if the pools do open, she's going to have to supply all these additional and a lot of them new lifeguards. And of course, that needs to be done, and it needs to be done expeditiously. So Robin, I'm hoping they can, go back and address you and give you the go. My other points I was going to make to Vince and to Dennis at the time they were speaking. I was trying to raise my hand, but I understand. Vince, I kind of think that we can go back and open the seawall. And here's a couple of suggestions for your addressing the problem with the benches. I would not want to sit in one of those benches. My wife and I quite often go up to the Pirates Den. As you know, I live in the moorings, 64 Sailfish, if I didn't mention that. We like to go up to the Pirates Den, have a dinner, have a lunch, go out to the seawall, sometimes walk off the meal. Most other times just sit down and enjoy the water. Well, okay. It's probably not practical to remove the benches. I would not want to sit in them, but a quick trip to the Home Depot and purchasing a couple rolls of plastic wrap and get the benches wrapped so they couldn't be sat in. And then everybody walking could still walk, and people who want to sit could sit on the seawall. How are we going to get those benches wrapped, you might ask? Okay, don't ask. Again, my grandson, his friends, and dozens of other Holy Spirit High School students are looking for service hours that they still need to get in before the end of the year, which is what, 2-3 weeks away. So I'm sure with a call out to him, he could materialize enough friends, and many of you others also are in the same predicament, who need a few hours of services. And okay, guys, here's the plastic wrap. Knock yourself out. Now all the benches are wrapped, and in my opinion, the seawall could be open. Okay, next and last topic to Dennis. Memorial Day. It's very emotional to me. Our veterans should be honored. Okay, we don't need a crowd, but it could be broadcast. Our masses from St. Thomas are broadcast on Facebook every Sunday. The service could be memorialized. My father landed at Omaha Beach in the second wave on D-Day, and he survived the war by ending up at the Battle of the Bulge. Yeah, a real war hero. He would have been 99 this year, but he passed away 7 years ago. And when I saw that the services were going to be reduced and there wasn't going to be any taps and there wasn't going to be any bugles, I'm going to tell you something. At 12 o'clock noon, I'm going to be up on my deck. And those of you who have students in the school and music students know I'm the guy in the back row with the trumpet, okay, helping out the school now for the last 10 years since we've lived here. I would love to throw on my American Legion hat and volunteer my services, because when that flag goes up, you need to call the colors, and inside the ceremony, you need the taps. And I think we should still honor our veterans who fought for us, who died for us. And guess what? We're in a war right now. And we have a lot of people who have given their lives for this unwillingly, okay? And I think the veterans should be honored. And whoever made the decision not to have a bugler, I'm volunteering and I can be there.
Hello, Frank?
Yes. He's muted. He's muted.
Your father's service, and what more can I say? There is going to be a service there. There will be taps. It will be from audio. We were unable to get it. Well, if the thing is that I believe Mr. Bennett, we spoke, correct, Mr. Bennett? We wanted to keep it at a minimum. Okay, before you know it, we reached out to a bugler. There was none to be had. So as always, are you a bugler?
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? Why don't you join us? We could have been saving a lot of money over the years. Instead of getting a civilian, you could have been doing it for us.
Oh, and I've been doing it for the grade school now for all the years that we've been living here.
First of all, I have no idea of that happening, but please join us if it's okay with the city manager and the deputy mayor and the council. We have contacted all the organizations that normally lay a wreath, and they will be purchasing a wreath. By the way, we're only waiting, I believe, for one organization now that has not responded. I will contact them again today in order to make sure that they don't feel left out, and then get lambasted lambasted, after the ceremony comes and goes. So the thing is, the American Legion will be there. Myself, the commander, Rich Spinelli, former Commander Joe Handel, and whoever of those organizations that are laying wreaths will be there. From what I understand, Mr. Bennett, the streets are not going to be closed. There's going to be no police presence, no fire trucks like there normally is, but that was the least that we could do. And the American Legion every year, the Memorial Day is our responsibility. But Veterans Day is the Veterans of Foreign War's responsibility. We were not going to let that pass come hell or high water, that there was going to be at least no wreath laying there for Memorial Day. So please be rest assured, if you want to be there, please show up at noon on Sunday. I believe it's the 24th. I think the 25th is the actual Memorial Day. It's the 24th Sunday. And please feel free to bring your bugle.
Okay, I will, as a matter of fact, because if you were going to say there was not going to be any there, I'm just going to be out there at noon playing for my father. I'll tell you what, though, I do belong to an organization called Buglers Across America, and somebody should write that down. And if you need a bugler for a funeral, for an event, you call and get in touch with Buglers Across America, and they will provide a local bugler at no cost. Some guys are looking for gas money, but I'm not. I live here, and these buglers are provided to you at no cost.
And Frank, thank you for your comments, your support, and most of all, thank you for your father's service.
Thank you.
And listen, guys, Vince, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Vince. Did you
No,
want
go ahead, Mike. I didn't say
All right. So Frank and Jim, I'd like to say that on Sunday, I'll arrange that the service will be videoed and broadcast on Facebook Live. And Jim, we can talk about it on what page to broadcast it to, so it'll be taped, so people don't feel the necessity to come out and come. We can't hear you, Jim.
1 second, Mike. I think, I'm not sure if it's the American Legion might be broadcasting that live.
Oh.
So if maybe Maria Handel could give us a little update on that, would that be okay?
Thank you. Yes, we created an American Legion Post 396 Facebook page. I believe it's under Brigantine American Legion, and I will be down there recording the ceremonies on Sunday or Monday.
Great.
Sunday, Monday, Sunday.
Good stuff.
And I think it's important to note too, while the governor is still prohibiting large public gatherings, the city is working, especially with our local veterans groups. And I want to thank Maria and thank Jim Mackey and our other veterans groups to commemorate the day. We as a city can't advocate for people to go out there. We can't support crowds because it's directly against the governor, but there are some good people in our community who have taken it upon themselves to make sure that Memorial Day is commemorated for all of our veterans. Like I said, a lot of the things that we're able to do in our community is because of the good people who step up to the plate to make them happen. So, Jim, I want to thank you. Maria, I want to thank you. And Frank, thank you for offering your services as well.
And again, thank you, city manager and city council for allowing us, like I said, we were not going to let this day pass. And and I'm glad you brought it up, Frank. And I believe there was a small blurb at the end of the article in the Brigantine Times saying, the formal one was going to be, canceled, but there was going to be wreath laying. And from what I understood, there was also going to be Mayor Simpson. He actually was going to grab the microphone, which we don't provide. That would be Public Works. But he was also supposed to say a few words, from what I understand. Is that correct, Maria? From what I heard from your father-in-law?
The mayor had said that he wanted to. I don't know his situation today. I wasn't on at the very beginning.
Okay, so the thing is, it's going to be, we're going to do we're going to have the national anthem. It's all going to be, like I said, on an audio. That will be, unless you can play. Do you play the national anthem too, Frank?
Only for 60 years.
Okay, well that's fine. I wish we would have known you. I've been doing this for 22 years here since I moved here in 1998. So, but anyhow, please show up and please give me your number. I don't know how we can. If you want to jot my number down right now, that would be great. And then we'd love to have you as part of the ceremony. As I was saying earlier, last Veterans Day for the VFW, one of my cadets who was also a bugler, he performed the taps last time. But I cannot ask students of mine now to trek down from from Ocean County to do this sort of stuff. Okay, here we go. It's a 609 369 3307.
Okay.
All right, and just call me, text me, and we'll work it out. And thank you for that, because you know what? Like always, Coast Guard always ready, semper paratus. The backup, we will still have that CD player there just in case.
Okay.
Right.
And I'd like to, before I get cut off, I'd like to go back and make 2 points. Which of you are involved with the American Legion?
I've been since 1991. Gulf War.
I have my own set of medals. I was president of the Sons of American Legion in Philadelphia for many, many years, on the coattails of my dad and his exploits, as I talked to you about earlier. And the second thing, I want to go back before I get cut off and really speak to everybody and remind everybody who might need some help cleaning the yard, cutting the grass. These high school students from Holy Spirit, they're dying right now trying to come up with the last few service hours that they need to put in. So if you need something, get in touch with a Holy Spirit a student and get them to, get their boys or girls or friends or lady friends. And my grandson is one of them. He's looking for the last few hours. So they're out there for everybody's use. And that's why I suggested using them to wrap the benches. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Frank. We appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Jim, do we have Jim Bennett, do we have our next question?
Yeah, I'm going to have to scroll through the screens here, Deputy Mayor. Kind of got lost in thought with the side conversation. So just give me a moment, please. Well, if there's anybody else that wants to comment, I don't see any hands raised or the waving. Anybody else that has not spoken yet, please unmute yourself and speak. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi everybody. Thanks for listening. But my name's Daniel Mooney. Sure why I came up as Renee. That's my wife. We own 3 rental properties in Brigantine. The first one we've owned since 2005. I think I have a relatively unique perspective on all this because not only am I a small business owner and a homeowner from Brigantine, I'm also an emergency medicine doctor for my day job. So I've been in the middle of this since the very beginning. And I think that there are a couple of kind of misperceptions that may be going on and misconceptions about why we need to continue to keep the short-term rentals closed. From the medical perspective, I don't think that there's any reason whatsoever to continue this ban. While certainly COVID is still an issue for everybody, with proper social distancing procedures, there's almost zero chance of being infected with this by being out at the beach from 6 feet away from somebody. You're talking about homeowners here who have private property, private homes that are clean to an exacting degree. I'm also a member of the community advisory board for VRBO, so I'm a little bit of an insider for there. I'm a premier partner with them, and we've had well over 100 5-star reviews that have continued to drive people to the island of Brigantine. Just in the 3 months that we have been shut down so far, we've lost approximately $75,000 in gross rental income. Now, it's certainly not all profit, but you guys also are being taxed now at 11 point something % by the state on every one of those. So the amount of tax money that is lost to the state by continuing this ban, the amount of money that is being lost to the town by literally hundreds of people just from my 3 properties coming through, is going to end up being more devastating to the town, I think, than the COVID itself. There's only been, as far as I could find, 19 total cases of COVID in Brigantine with 1 death. Obviously, that's awful. But being out in sunlight has been shown to decrease the odds of transmission. The warmth and the warm weather that's coming has also been shown to decreases the chances of transmission. The rates of death for people that are under age 65 are extremely low, and they almost all have significant comorbidities with morbid obesity, hypertension, diabetes. So those people certainly need to continue to protect themselves and stay home if necessary, but to lock down the island and to shut out all of these other businesses and all the other homeowners that are in similar situations to me, I don't think you're actually going to be doing as much good in terms of shutting down COVID, because I think that once the sun is out, the heat is up, and people are continuing to use proper social distancing, you're going to see those numbers continue to fall anyway. So I hope that you'll consider at least giving us the plan for how you're going to allow these things to reopen, because Atlantic County is open 100% as of June 1st. North Wildwood and Wildwood are open as of May 26th. You're going to be losing those renters to these other towns, and you might not get them back. And as I heard one other person comment, the vast majority of our renters are families that come in yearly, and they spend money at your restaurants, they buy your beach passes, and they are not creating, nuisances. We've never once had a problem. We've already passed our summer rental inspection at all 3 properties, and I'd like to be able to get my business going again, or the bottom line is this is going to bankrupt me, and I'm going to lose these properties, and a bank is going to end up owning them instead of somebody who has been proven over now several years to take very good care of the properties and very good care of our renters.
Can you give me your address, please?
I put in the comments, it's 20 Heald Road is our original property we've had since 2005.
Thank you.
Dan, I really want to thank you for sharing your comments. And, I think it's important for people to think about, what you're saying from that perspective. And again, to go back, there's a lot of unintended consequences with keeping things closed down. And like you said, it's getting to the point where it could bankrupt, not just a lot of businesses, but a lot of individuals. And it's something that council really needs to take in consideration as we move forward. And you're right, we need to make this, based on data, based on numbers, and what we can do, within our power to move things forward. A lot of the Cape May communities are starting to open up the rentals. I know Margate has opened theirs up. I believe Ventnor has not yet. But I think we need to have a plan that works for Brigantine. So, thank you. And I'm really glad you shared everything, with council today, and obviously with the community.
Yes, sir. And, I read that May 26th date, and it was an article in the Inquirer, and we don't want the cure to be worse than the disease itself. I mean, there's a lot of information out there on that, and I definitely sentiment your thoughts on that, sir. And we do need to grab this bull by the horns ASAP, because there's people losing their businesses, going under. There's businesses that just had started out. There's employees at these businesses that can't pay their bills. The stuff going on at the federal level with this borrowing is a little frightening. So it needs to start at grassroots from our municipalities and work on up. But obviously we need the go ahead. We want that go ahead from up above, from our governor's office. So, thank you.
Jim, is there any other questions out there?
I'll scan through it once again, Deputy Mayor. Okay, I don't see anybody else trying to get my attention. I have one chat message that I will try and answer again. I already answered the person, but I don't see anybody else. So we can go ahead and close.
All right, then at this time, we're going to close public comment. I just really want to take a couple minutes to thank everyone for taking time to be involved, to give us advice, to speak your mind. And, this is really how government should work. It's a partnership between, your elected representatives and the people. And thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing your ideas. Jim, I believe we have to do a voice resolution.
Deputy Mayor, yes. We have unofficially extended the time period to purchase the four-wheel drive permits at the $200 fee, as well as the time period for the reduced fee beach tags. I think it prudent at this point to get a voice resolution from council supporting that. Choose the dates. I don't think we picked an official date yet, except for the June 5th date that you and I had spoken about. So if you would, I'd like some discussion on that and then a voice resolution supporting that so we can have it memorialized and codified.
All right, so I guess the first thing is we need a motion on the floor. So I guess, is there a motion in the second to extend the date of our 4x4 permits and our beach tags to keep the preseason rates in place until June 5th?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All right, seeing no discussion, one, I want to thank council for this, and Jim, thank you for bringing this back to our attention. One of the reasons for doing this resolution is because we shut down our beach fee office. We wanted to make sure that people had a fair opportunity to, get their passes and their beach tags at the discounted rate. So we decided to extend this to make sure that people can still take advantage of that. Since there's no comments, can we, Lynn, open it up for roll call?
You?
Yes.
Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
Jalukri?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sarah?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I will link up with Solicitor Cerny and we'll get this finalized and in a written form. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much. And again, I really want to thank everybody for their participation today. One, again, to thank our city employees, and two, to thank our community and all of our local businesses for being patient with us as we work through this. The only way we're going to move things forward and get Brigantine in a good position is to be there for each other. And it is something that I have seen and all of us have seen demonstrated, not just through this COVID-19 situation, but through the history of Brigantine. So again, thank you all for joining in today. Thank you for your participation. And I guess we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so meeting is closed. Thank you very much, everybody. We're always here. If you have questions, you can reach out to us. Thank you.
Hey, Lynn, I'm going to end the recording right now. Thank you.